So this is kind of backwards, but I realized that if I just started the video, a lot of people might be lost at what's going on. This video is in reference to the last FE engine video where we had an engine that we went and bought and had it in the back of the truck that we were basically bought for a parts engine, that we walked around and made the deduction it was a 360 and all that stuff. That's what this engine is in this video. We're going to tear into it and see what was done to it and what it is, if it really is a 360, and what's been done to it. This is kind of out of order because I filmed this after I was done, but I realized if I didn't go back and say that, people might not know what was going on. So enjoy the video. Please remember to hit the subscribe, like, comment, bell, all that stuff. It really does help me when you hit the little thumbs up button. It really does help me when you comment, and it tremendously helps me when you subscribe. Please enjoy the video.
I'd say it's a nut job.
Okay, so the title may be a hair misleading because we think we know what this engine is. We believe, based off the clues, if you watched the last video, that this is a 360. The mystery is it's been apart. So is it still a 360? And if it is, why was it taken apart and what was done to it? That's the kind of questions I want to answer now. So I'm going to start taking this thing apart. But I wasn't going to make it a video, but two things made me decide to. One is once I took the valve covers off, how clean every part of this thing is. It really makes me want to just kind of show everybody that there's still some good ones out there. And two, based off the number of watches on the last video, y'all really like some FE content. So I'm gonna dig in and start taking some things apart, and let's look at what we do as we go, and let's kind of have a discovery here together about what this thing might be and what we see as we go. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come through and just break all these rocker shaft bolts loose, just kind of bump them loose. And let's see what we got here. These things are extremely clean. Yeah, it looks like new split pins on each end. The shafts look clean. It looks like somebody went through and rebuilt these rocker shafts. Liking what I see, liking what I see. Even these, this is usually where on an old motor gunk will build up, but these things are clean. No gunk build up at all, just clean oil. I'm liking what I'm seeing. These are aftermarket push rods. I can faintly see some stamping there on them with the size. I was looking to see if I could see a name on any of them. Can't quite make it out. These are aftermarket push rods, and these things are silly clean. I honestly don't know if this motor was ran much after it was freshened up. If this whole engine was freshened up, I don't know that yet. But I can tell you there's been some work done to the heads, because these springs are really, really clean on here too. Also, the top of these valves are nice and smooth. They're not beat up or mushroomed. It's at least had a head job on it. at least. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We've got some work going on here. I'm gonna pull this other rocker assembly off. Normally I would start up here and strip everything down, but I'm gonna pull this other rocker assembly off, and I'm gonna pop the intake bolts off, and I'm gonna pop this intake off because I want to see down this valley. I'm kind of excited. I'm getting a little excited here because I'm seeing a bunch of new parts here. A lot of you know I had surgery not long ago, so this will be the first time I've tried to pick up anything with any weight on it since my surgery. And probably not the smartest thing to pick up is an FE intake because they are kind of hefty. But here we go. Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh. Wow. This thing's really, really clean. Really clean. Definitely has had a head job. Looks like there might have even been some light porting in these heads. The valley's clean, and that valley pan that comes factory arm is not in here either. So we know, which we already knew the intake had been off because of the silicone and all, but we definitely are getting deeper into it. We know what they've done now, and I believe, let me grab just a little something here. I believe we have had a cam change too, because these lifters look brand new. Got an excellent wear pattern on them. Yeah, I believe we've had a cam change as well. So I think the next thing I want to do, just because again curiosity is right here on me, I'm gonna pop these heads off and see what the bore is on it, see if this thing's been bored, and then we'll make a decision of what else we're gonna do. But so far we can tell that it's definitely had a cam put in it. Now the question is it a stock cam or did they put an aftermarket cam in it? Question is, were we right and it's a 360, or has it been made into a 390? Question is, has it been bored? There's still some questions here, but so far I'm kind of impressed with the things I'm seeing. It appears that somebody has tapped the galley plugs and put pipe plugs in it and not the press in. So somebody spent a little money on this. Somebody spent a little money on this thing. Let's get one of these heads off. All right, I got the head bolts loose. Let's get a as we got aftermarket head bolts. All right, I expected some resistance there. I don't think this motor was ran much after it was rebuilt. Heads look really nice. Yep, Fel-Pro gaskets. See if I can see a stamping on top of it, see if it's factory bore. We can always take a tool and measure the bore and see, but let's see what we got. Okay, so we have a standard bore, flat top pistons. Interesting. standard bore flat top pistons, and so it looks like this thing may have been torn down just to do a cam change, and they had the heads worked on while they were in there. That's kind of where it's leading me to believe now, that we've got a cam change and some head work done on a stock motor. Now I did measure it. It is a 4050 bore, so it could be either a 390 or a 360. I'm still heavily leaning toward it being a 360. I've seen nothing that would tell me it's not a 360. It honestly appears as though somebody probably had a truck and they wanted just a little more out of it, so they tore it down for some reason. My assumption would be it was probably running hot or something. They tore it down and had the heads done, and while they had it down, they decided to go ahead and put a cam in it. It's definitely had a cam, I can tell that. Question is what cam they put in it. So now I kind of want to get the other head off and poke around in the front up here and see if I can find some numbers on the cam to find out what cam we've got in this thing. But I'm not disappointed in any way, even if it is a 360, which it most likely is. I wanted a set of heads for another project, and they've got a spring and they got a dampener inside there. They got a spring and a dampener in there, so we definitely got an aftermarket cam. They probably done a head job and done a cam swap, and why they put the 2-barrel intake back on it is beyond me. The plot, it does thicken. Let's get this other head off, and then I'm gonna pull the front off up here so that we can see what's going on inside there, and see if there's any markings on the front of that cam anywhere. And have I mentioned lately how much I hate gloves? Oh my God, I hate gloves. The only reason I'm wearing these gloves is because that surgery, I don't want to risk getting something in, so I want to keep my hands kind of clean. But that's where we are right now. We're at a standard bore block, which actually doesn't have any ring ridge, not on this side. So I don't think it's got a whole lot of miles on it, but we got a standard bore block that has obviously had a cam change and obviously had a head work done. That's where we're at. I still believe it's a 360, but we will confirm that once we roll it over and check out the crank. But let's get this head and everything off first. All right, so I've got the pulleys off, got the other head off, got the pulleys off. And somebody painted this. You can see they didn't prep it real good before they painted it, and all the paint just flakes right off. Prep work, folks, prep work. So yeah, I actually made it easy to clean up. I'm gonna pop this timing chain cover off because I'm 100% sure that's the aftermarket cam and lifters. It'll be interesting to see what the timing chain is and what it looks like, and what the cam is. There should be some numbers on the front of the cam. So let's get in here and get after this thing and see what it looks like. Now, if you haven't done this before, there's 4 bolts goes through the oil pan to sandwich is in, and then these bolts around here. So we're gonna take these out first. Now, this one, and this one are different sizes. These up here are the same size. All right. Oh, she's glued on there. Let's see what kind of surprise awaits us behind here. A little bit of the gasket hanging on right there. And we have a stock Promoco gear. I don't understand that. Sometimes you see stuff people done and you go, huh, they spent the money on a head, and this is obviously new, a new concentric. I'm curious if they bought a stock replacement to go back in it. Because, quite honestly, these gears are like a composite, and if they run much, they chip and wear down. That thing looks brand new. There's not a single chip on this thing, but it is a Fumoco gear. I don't know if you can see it right there. Where's the camera at? Right there. It says Fumoco on it. I don't understand why you would put something like that back in one, but there are people out there that will only run stock replacement parts. I was hoping to see some stamping right there, but I don't see any yet. I'm really curious what this cam is. That's really what's got my curiosity level absolutely peaked right now, is what is this cam? Now, being 100% real with y'all, if you have any interest in ever reusing a cam again, you must put the lifters back in the order they came out of. And we're going to look at every one of these that come out. These things are silly clean. And they're coming out with zero effort. I mean, they're just coming right out of there. There's no resistance. There's obviously no mushrooming on the bottom of them. This thing has what you would refer to as an absolute perfect wear pattern. I was thinking, and it may be somewhere and I just hadn't seen it yet, I'm thinking somewhere on the lifters there should be a manufacturer. These are obviously not stock lifters. So far, so good. Every lifter looks absolutely perfect. Every lifter is clean, has a great wear pattern on the bottom. It's absolutely amazing. I don't think this engine was ran very much. At all. Lifters, they're absolutely perfect. So I don't think this engine was ran much. I honestly believe there's an aftermarket cam in it, and we're about to find out together. So these cam plates are held in with Phillips head screws, and they get in there. One of the better tools you can invest in is an impact driver like this. You put the screw head in there and you hit this, it magnifies the force and gives a slow little crack and turn right there. Breaks these things loose without damaging your screw head or breaking your screwdriver off, which is always nice. All right, let's pull this thing out of here and see what we got and what we're working with. Oh. All right, let's look at what we got here. I can't see any
numbers on it, but this is not a new cam. This cam has little chips missing in it. Did somebody put new lifters on an old cam? Huh. I'm thoroughly confused as though why it's got new lifters in this thing. If nothing else, tearing down an engine like this, we'll get to see some unique ways of engine assembly. Yeah. Okay, so I did manage to clean the cam up off camera. There is absolutely zero numbers on that cam. It's a factory cam. Oil pan's clean on the inside too. This motor's really clean. Let me get some light on the situation so I can turn the motor around and see what we're working with. Well, this is one of those times where you just know when you're looking at it. There'll be a stamp on this crank on the hatchet there, and it'll tell you it's a 2 what did I say it was now, 2 UT I think, or it's 360 crank. But another way you can quickly confirm that is look at these rods. See how they look long and thin and spindly? Those are 360 rods without a doubt. So there's a better shot of it. You can tell by looking at the rods that this is a 360. I had to do a wardrobe change. I was sweating through my clothes, so it just had to happen. And I moved the engine here toward the edge of the shop so that get some outside air coming in. And I'm going to finish breaking this thing down. We know exactly what it is now. It's a 360 that somebody had some head work done to and put a set of new lifters in a old cam. I'm looking at the bearings here. They actually don't look bad. In fact, I rubbed my oily handprint in them. Could actually, you spot, you can see there. Actually, I don't guess you can't see that. They're fairly clean. They're smooth. There's really not much wear on them. I don't think this motor had a ton of miles on it. Just so everybody's aware, I have no intentions of keeping these rods and pistons for a couple of reasons. One, I've got boxes full of 360 rods, and I'll probably, if I ever do anything with a 360, it'll probably be maybe one. But I say it's not like you'll ever be using a stock bore piston for anything, so I don't know. I say I'll just toss them, but they'll probably end up in a box on the shelf like the other 4 or 5 sets of them I have, because I'm an FE guy, and if you ever hear anybody say they're an FE guy, that automatically means they're a hoarder. And they've got a bunch of random parts laying around their shop that they'll never freaking use for anything, and they know they won't. But they still keep them laying around. Before I rub my hands on it, you can see that that bearing is really fairly spotless. It's actually a really nice bearing. You can see that these pistons or these bearings really have almost no wear on them. This is a really good motor. I've had some 360s that I've had 360s that sounded good, I've had 360s that ran good, and I've had 360s that got pretty good gas mileage for what they are. I think 15, 16 miles a gallon is great for a 360. So don't let anything I say make you think I just don't want nothing to do with a 360, because that's not the case. I have no problem with a 360. Fact is, this block is going to the machine shop in the morning. It's going to get bored home. Going to get decked a little bit. Going to throw the hammer on the ground. So it's visiting the machine shop in the morning. And I've got no reason to be extra gentle when I know that everything on it is going to kind of go. Now we found a bearing with a groove in it. Let me see if I can get the camera to zoom on that. See the groove right there. There's a groove right down the middle of it. That tells me that there was a piece of trash in this motor somewhere. That is the only bearing I've seen like that. The crank journal still looks good, so there was a piece of trash somewhere got in the oiling system. I want to look at one of these bearings, see if we can see any information on the bearing. I would expect these to be stock bearings just because it's a stock bore. Well, we've already found some things in this motor that don't make any sense, so let's go here. Yep, these are standard bearings. These are factory Ford bearings. Interesting. Not that I expected anything any different, but these are factory Ford bearings. Now we pull the crank out. Make sure your caps stay in order. That is vitally important. My strength ain't 100% back yet. So some of this stuff is a little hard on me. Tell you, I think the thrust bearing, the thrust in this crank is a little off. The bearing looks great in there, but look at the side of it. It's completely eat away, just on one side. So something was a little off on that, without a doubt. Stick the caps back in where they came out. The direction that they came off also. Placement and direction is vitally important. Oh. Normally I'd knock all the galley plugs out, knock all the freeze plugs out, I'd knock all the cam bearings out, all that stuff. But I'm not going to on this one. There's a perfectly good reason for it. And that reason is simply this. I'm tired, I'm wore out, and I'm not back to 100% yet. So, even though it would save me a couple dollars at the machine shop to knock all this out, I'm just going to pay the extra couple dollars and let them do it. And not worry about it, just because it has about whipped me carrying this thing down today. Whew. So, in most of y'all probably already knew what we was gonna find. We was gonna find a 360. Kind of knew it myself. That's why I really wasn't too concerned about it. But pretty good block. I'm well pleased with what we got here. Let me get this off and push this back in, and we'll talk about that. So let's talk about. Wow, look at that. Now I think it's gonna get stormy. So let's talk about what we uncovered here and what we've figured out. First off, let's be honest. Let's be honest with each other. We all knew it was 360, right? Yeah, we all knew it was 360. Because, well, they all are. So we all knew that. Some surprises that we found. Personally, I found it kind of shocking that we found new lifters on an old cam. I'm sure when it was done, there was a reason, there was some justification, there was something in the person's mind that made them think that they needed to do that. Maybe there was, I don't know, maybe they had a bent push rod, maybe, who knows. Some surprises we found that I'm actually kind of glad we are. Let's be honest, I bought this engine as a parts engine. I wanted the heads off of it for one project. I wanted an oil pan and something else off of it, the throttle piece off the intake for a different project. And I wanted the alternator bracket, the fan spacer, the coil bracket, and a couple of little brackets off of it for Wayland. So I bought this as a parts engine to scavenge and save 3 others. So I'm not disappointed in it at all, and got a good set. Oh, excuse me, I'm sweating my butt off. Got a good set of valve covers out of it. So that means the valve cover wall gets another set of valve covers. Because let's be honest, they look cool hanging on the wall. I don't care what nobody says. So, but some of the good things that we found. First off, I could tell the heads had been off of it, so I was hoping that it had a valve job. That's all I was hoping for. That saves me some money if it had a valve job. Well, it did, but it's also got aftermarket springs on it. Got the little springs with the dampeners in it, so it's got a good set of springs on it. It's had a valve job. It looks like somebody really went in there and cleaned up the ports. I don't know if they actually ported it, but they at least cleaned them real good, so they look good in there. So the head work alone made it worth, you know, the couple of $100 I paid for the motor. I'm extremely happy with that. The big surprise in all that was the aftermarket push rods. They had a name on them, but I couldn't really make out the name. I'll check that out tomorrow. I was going to look at them as we took them apart, and I forgot to, but I could tell there was a name on them and a size written on them. So the only thing I can think there is they probably had the heads touched a little bit, the surface of the heads shaved a little to get them square. They might have been warped a little, and it's always a good idea to measure your push rods and put good push rods in if you do that. So I'm over the moon with the aftermarket push rods. As a guy that's bought a lot of aftermarket push rods, that is not a investment to thumb your nose up at. I mean, heck, that's $150, $200 investment depending on what push rods you get and all that. So, but you know, the push rods alone made it worth the engine, honestly. So we found a really good upper part. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy with it, even though, you know, it's a 360 again. I don't have a problem with 360, but I'm happy with it. It's going to give me all the parts I need from those other projects. And that block, since it is so clean and such in good shape, it's going to the machine shop tomorrow also, going first thing in the morning, and it's going to get some work done to it as well for a project. So it's the gift that keeps on giving. The real in the whole thing was the timing chain cover had been off. They put a new fuel pump eccentric on it, and obviously had replaced the timing gear, but they replaced it with a factory fiber gear thing on it. I mean, honestly, a good timing chain set now is only what, $30-$40. I mean, you know, So some things didn't make sense, some things was positive, some things was negative. Doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, we got a 360 crank rods that I'll probably go on the part shelf, honestly. Even though I said I probably wouldn't keep them. They'll probably go on the part shelf. And we got a block that we can use for another project. We got heads we can use for another project. We got brackets and stuff we can use for another project, and an oil pan for another project. So I've got, out of that one motor, I'm going to save four, well, not save, but I'm going to supply parts for 4 other engines. You can't beat that deal all day long. You just got to be willing to go out there and scramble and scrounge for stuff and keep your eyes open for good deals. So hopefully you guys enjoy this and you'll tune in for some more stuff. I hope the Lord blesses you today more than he did yesterday. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being subscribers. If you are, if you're not, doesn't cost you a thing just to go bloop and pump that button. Y'all have a great evening.
I'd say it's a nut job.